disappearance of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 is one of the most mysterious and unsettling events in modern aviation history. On March 8, 2014, a Boeing 777 with 239 people on board took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, bound for Beijing. It seemed like just another routine flight, with a clear night sky and smooth weather conditions. The passengers were settling in for a 6-hour journey, and the crew was ready to serve them. But at 12:41 a.m., the last transmission from the cockpit came through. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Moments later, the plane vanished from radar. This was not a crash, no emergency call, no warning, just silence. At first, there was no immediate panic. Planes sometimes go off radar, and the possibility of a delayed flight was considered. However, when the aircraft failed to make its scheduled landing in Beijing, the alarm bells rang. Air traffic controllers tried to contact the pilots. They received no response. And then came the unsettling information. At 1:21 a.m., the plane's transponder had been manually turned off. This meant that its identification signal, which allows air traffic control to track the plane, was deliberately disabled. This was not a malfunction. Someone in the cockpit had made the decision to switch it off. But the mystery deepened. Military radar showed that, after the transponder was switched off, the plane made an abrupt left turn. Instead of continuing on its scheduled route, it veered off course, flying across the Malay Peninsula and into the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. For 7 more hours, the aircraft remained undetected, flying without communication, without a clear explanation. Finally, at 2:40 a.m., the plane disappeared entirely from radar. It had flown thousands of miles off course. But why? And where was it going? The search for MH370 began immediately. Search teams scoured the South China Sea, assuming the plane had crashed there, but no wreckage was found. Nothing. As days passed, authorities turned to satellite data. This data showed that the plane continued to fly for another 7 hours after its disappearance from radar. It wasn't until satellite signals, known as handshakes, were analyzed that it was confirmed that MH370's final known position was deep in the Indian Ocean. But there was no wreckage, no oil slicks, no debris. A plane this large should have left evidence, yet nothing could be found. The world was left in shock and disbelief. Then the theories began to surface. Was it the pilot, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, who intentionally crashed the plane? Some speculated that he may have deliberately flown the aircraft into the ocean, noting that he had a flight simulator at home that included a route similar to MH370's final path. Others pointed out the odd left turn made by the plane before it lost contact. Was this a suicide mission? However, his family and friends denied that Captain Zahari showed any signs of suicidal tendencies. And if he had been intent on crashing, why fly the plane for 7 more hours, when a quicker and more definitive crash would have been easier? Could it have been a hijacking? The fact that the transponder was turned off manually pointed to someone in control. But if hijackers were responsible, why was no one able to claim responsibility? There were no ransom demands, no terrorist group declarations. If it had been hijacked, where could they have taken the plane? The mystery only grew deeper. Some have even suggested that the plane was shot down, either by military forces or in some other covert operation. In 2014, a whistleblower claimed that military radar had detected the plane flying toward the U.S. military base on Diego Garcia, a highly secretive location. Was this a military cover-up, and if so, why was the public kept in the dark? But the evidence for this theory is slim at best, and no government has ever confirmed such a claim. As the investigation continued, something remarkable happened. In 2015, a piece of wing from a Boeing 777 washed up on the shores of the island of Reunion, a French territory in the Indian Ocean. It was later confirmed to be part of MH370. Over the following years, more pieces of the plane, seat cushions, a flaperon, were found scattered across the Indian Ocean. But despite these discoveries, the main wreckage remains missing. The search for MH370 became the largest and most expensive in aviation history, spanning years and covering vast areas of the ocean. Yet the plane's final resting place remains elusive. The families of the 239 passengers on board are still waiting for answers. Many of them refuse to believe the official account, holding on to the hope that their loved ones might somehow still be alive. Every year on the anniversary of the disappearance, families gather, hoping for a breakthrough. But as the years go by, the hope begins to fade. Some of the relatives continue to search for clues, convinced that new evidence will emerge, while others simply cannot let go of the pain of losing their loved ones in such an inexplicable way. The grief is palpable, and for many, the lack of closure is a daily struggle. Some mothers still set an extra plate at dinner for their missing children. Others refuse to believe their loved ones are gone. These families live in a state of perpetual uncertainty, and their pain is compounded by the fact that the world has largely moved on from the mystery. In the years following the disappearance, aviation laws were changed. Planes are now required to transmit location signals every 15 minutes, and satellite data has become more widely available to governments. The disappearance of MH370 showed that the aviation industry had gaps in its safety protocols, and these changes were made to prevent another tragedy like this from happening. However, for the families of the passengers, these changes feel like too little too late. Now, 10 years after MH370 vanished, the questions remain unanswered. Was it an accident? Was it a deliberate act by the pilot, a hijacking, or something far more sinister? Will we ever know the truth? The mystery of MH370 has become a global obsession, and despite years of investigations, no definitive answers have emerged. Some believe that the truth is hidden in government files or military archives, while others speculate that the plane is still out there, somewhere in the vast Indian Ocean, waiting to be found. The disappearance of MH370 remains one of the most haunting and unexplained tragedies in aviation history. With no clear explanation and so many questions left unanswered, the story continues to captivate and mystify. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous mysteries are the ones hiding in plain sight. The plane and the people on board may be gone, but the mystery lingers, casting a shadow over the world. What happened to flight MH370? Perhaps the biggest question of all is whether we'll ever truly know.